Welcome to lesson 23. We're going to talk about relative pronouns, the adjective pos, every or all, and expressions of time. So first, the relative pronoun. To begin with, let's just look at the forms of the relative pronoun, and then we'll talk about what they do. So note that the relative pronoun comes in all three genders and all four cases, no vocative, okay, singular and plural. And that its forms look exactly like the definite article, except where the definite article has an initial tau, we've replaced that with just a rough breathing. And also, right, the definite article, masculine, nominative, singular is ha. Here we have hos. Okay, so they all have accents, they all have rough breathing. Now, let's look at some examples and we'll talk about how they work. So our first sentence, Philumen ton hippod hostafuta esthie. We love the horse who is eating the plants. So we love the horse. The horse is masculine accusative singular. It's accusative because it's the direct object of philumen. We love the horse. Now let's look at the relative clause. Who is eating the plants? So here's our relative pronoun. It refers to the horse, right? This whole relative clause tells us more about the horse. This is what relative clauses do. They're subordinate clauses that describe a noun or a pronoun. So, who is eating the plants? Hos, we chose the masculine singular relative pronoun because it's referring to the horse, and the horse is masculine and singular. But we've chosen the nominative form because inside the relative clause, hos is the subject of the verb esthie. So we love the horse who eats the plants. Okay, so we're going to call ton hippon the antecedent of the relative pronoun. It's the noun that the relative pronoun refers to. And relative pronouns, like hos here, will agree with their antecedent in gender and number, but they're going to take their case from what they do inside their own clause. Let's look at more examples. So, lithon heron hoi tod klopa balo. I found a rock, and now here's our relative clause, with which I shall strike the thief. So, hoi here is our relative pronoun, and its antecedent is lithon there. Now, lithon is masculine and singular. It's accusative, lithon is, in its own main clause because it's the direct object of heron. But hoi is masculine and singular to agree with its antecedent, but it's dative because inside its own clause, it's a dative of means with which I shall hit the thief. I found a rock with which I shall hit the thief. Let's look at another one. Kala ta probata ha komiumeta. Beautiful are the sheep. Here's our relative clause, which we will acquire. So the sheep here are neuter and plural and nominative, right? Because we have one of these, right? Kala ta probata, beautiful are the sheep. And then here's our relative pronoun, and its antecedent is the sheep, so it's neuter and it's plural like the sheep. But it's the direct object of komiumeta, so it's accusative here. So beautiful are the sheep, which we will acquire. Let's look at another one. Kale ekene hein ephileita. Beautiful is that woman. Here's our relative clause, whom y'all were loving. Okay, the antecedent of hein is akene, and that's pretty common that the antecedent of a relative pronoun will be some sort of demonstrative pronoun or other pronoun. So, beautiful is that woman whom y'all were loving. Hein is feminine and singular to agree with the antecedent akene, but it's accusative because it's the direct object of ephileita inside its own clause. And here, hein ephileita, whom y'all were loving, is beautiful. Beautiful is she whom you all were loving. I've actually left out the pronoun there. Okay, so these are all examples of relative clauses. Remember, relative pronouns agree with their antecedent in gender and number, but take their case from what they're doing inside their own relative clause. Okay, now we're going to look at the adjective pas upon, which means all or every. Now, in the masculine and neuter, it takes third declension endings. The stem is pont, and it behaves just like you'd expect a third declension adjective with a stem in nu tau to behave. Notice here we add that s ending to the nominative, and the nu tau disappears, and we get this compensatory lengthening. Note also that because it's a monosyllabic stem, just like you'd expect, the accent moves to the ultima in the genitive and dative singular. It doesn't move there in the plural, which is odd. The feminine uses first declension endings throughout. It works just like thalata, so short alpha there and there, eta there and there, the usual feminine plural first declension endings with the circumflex over the ultima in the genitive plural. Now let's look at how it works and what it means. First, with a noun that has the definite article, but in predicate position, all the mares. Now, with a noun that doesn't have the article, still in predicate position, all mares. Now, in attributive position, the whole mare. Now, let's look at it when it's used as a substantive, which happens quite a lot. So first, pas tous hippos philae. Everyone loves the horses. Pantes tous hippos philousen. All people love the horses. Hoikunes panta estheusen. The dogs are eating all things. The dogs are eating everything. Last thing, a few expressions of time. So, first, the genitive of time within which. Tautes tes nuktos, tis to biblion mu eklepsen. During that night, somebody stole my book. So during the night, genitive of time within which, at some point within the night. So during that night. Taute te hamera tis to biblion mu eklepsen. Dative of time when. On that day. So the day is being viewed as a point in time. On that day, somebody stole my book. Okay. Sometimes with this one, you'll have an N. But that's optional, and that's the dative of time within which. Finally, accusative of duration of time. Tu ta etos, hai hippoi en te korai emenon. During that year, the mares were staying in the countryside. So accusative of duration of time throughout the year. So, genitive of time within which, dative of time when, viewed as a point in time. You can have an N with that, but you don't need it. And accusative of duration of time. And that's it.